Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, here as always with Mr. Barrett Dudley, bringing the vacation vibes to your ear holes and eyeballs if you're watching on YouTube.
Do you think that do we have any music producers out there? Do we have any beats guys? Because I would like to take the oysters, clams, and cockles, trap theme song that we've got here
and see if you can
we just add some?
No, look, I've nailed it now. Listen.
Let's see it.
I've been doing it for the last 2 hours.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
Yeah.
To get some of that warbling. I think it's best described as warbling, maybe hooting.
Here's the problem. I was thinking about this yesterday because I actually went and had Ricky Prosper, our logo guy, make us a badass White Lotus logo for the 7-week run. And then I was thinking about the theme song.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about there's only 5 of these left.
True,
and then I was thinking about, do we do one for Succession? And then I was picturing in my head all the organizing I'm going to have to do to get us a logo and a theme song for every show we cover. And I was just like, stop it. And I backed off. But I will say, this is obviously episode 2 of season 2 of The White Lotus. And the theme song does hit harder every week so far.
Yeah.
And make me want to party.
Yeah.
And I don't even party, so that's really saying something. We're here to talk about...
You're just like, you hear that theme song and you're just like, man, give me some slutty Italian prosts and like 10 shots of cognac and...
I want the wheels to fall off.
And a long Vespa ride.
Yeah. We're here to talk about episode 2 of season 2 of The White Lotus today. And let's just jump into this thing because I have a lot to say. We start out with Ethan Spiller going on a run. He's a runner. Got to have a runner in the group. And he's going out for a run. His wife, Harper, wakes up alone as a result. And we get a shot of the Sullivans waking up, cuddling lovingly. And I'll say this. Your morning situation says a lot about your relationship, right? And having been through a lot of ups and downs in relationships, there are the times where you're very bonded together and on vacation and waking up spooning and stuff like that. And then there's the times where you're waking up and immediately getting out of the room as quickly as possible to go for a run because you're just like, I need some space. And that's the way it goes. So one of the things I love about this season so far is sort of the contrast between these two couples, obviously, and sort of the different surprising directions we go from where we started off through episode 1 into episode 2.
Yeah, the thing about the way that Cameron and Daphne wake up is that you got to be really careful with your shoulder situation, especially as you get older.
It's tough.
I literally, I had a shoulder impingement, which was from multiple things,
an impingement.
A shoulder impingement. It's basically similar to an AC joint sprain. This was 6 years ago. But one of the things that I attribute it to was I used to sleep with one arm as a pillow kind of thing.
It'll get you, dude. Yeah.
And I had to change the whole way that I sleep. I now have to sleep with my arms completely by my side. But I'm still a stomach or side sleeper. I can't sleep on my back. It gives me the night terrors. But yeah. So that as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, but the shoulder, my guy, you're gonna damage that thing.
Look, I've never identified with something you said more, especially because I kind of have bad shoulders.
Yeah.
They're not great.
Yeah.
They hurt when I do stuff with them,
right.
like when I try to work out and be a fitness person or play basketball and shit. And yeah, dude, I'm in this space right now where I'm totally reinventing the way I sleep. And I've started trying to be back sleeper guy. And it is tough.
They say that's the best way. They say that's the healthiest thing.
If you can get it done. But I haven't been able to. I've been a side sleeper my whole life. And as I've gotten into my mid-30s here, I've started to deal with some of this man, I can't spoon for shit anymore.
No. It's really tough.
It's not happening. I'm sorry. It's just not happening.
So don't feel bad if you don't wake up and as in a loving embrace.
Yeah.
Like Cameron and Daphne. Though you wake up, you move from when you wake up, that's when you can roll over and maybe get a little cuddle spoon in, right?
Sure.
But waking up like that's unheard of.
It is unrealistic.
That's a little preposterous.
It is unrealistic, which is why it was so surprising to see. You're like, God damn, they really are the real deal, right?
Yeah.
Which we'll get into more later. So Portia is the assistant of Tanya, right? She ends up she's brunching alone or breakfasting alone, breaking the fast, when, of course, Tanya and Greg come out to the terrace that she is brunching on. And Greg spots her like Portia sneaking out. You see that he sees her. He knows she's not gone, right? Episode 1, he tells Tanya, get rid of your assistant, send her home.
Yeah.
I told you she's not supposed to be here, which feels like an important note because there's a lot of questions surrounding what's going on with Greg.
I'm old Greg.
He is old Greg. So Portia ends up sitting with Albie de Grasso, right? The youngest of the de Grasso clan, and then is later joined by Grandpa Bert and Dominic eventually. We've got Jennifer Coolidge out there dropping plastic food covers and asking for Oreo cookie cake for breakfast.
For breakfast, yeah.
Which is patently insane.
That's not healthy.
And I'll say this scene really gave me the feel that this season on the whole is doing more of the, here's what it feels like to be at a resort for an extended period of time and see the same people every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where you kind of get to know each other. It almost starts to operate like a family situation.
Yeah, and they're getting to show a little bit more of that, I think, because they don't have as many COVID restrictions on this set.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
That's pretty clear. And they can do a little bit more of the kind of the larger group scenes where everybody is at the same place for breakfast and everybody is at the same restaurant for dinner, and like you get that kind of the hubbub.
There's a community feel to it, though.
The community, yeah.
When you stay at a small-esque resort, with like under 100 guests or whatever, so you kind of get a feel for everybody there. Harper says something to Tanya like, I think somebody's coming to help you with that after she drops her plastic cover thing. So Harper Spiller, because Ethan is off running and masturbating, eats brunch with the Sullivans, and this is where she starts to see that maybe these people are not as shitty as I perceived.
Yeah.
Through the first episode, which is kind of the permeating thing that happens with her throughout the whole episode. Harper is like slowly but surely coming around to the idea that maybe the Sullivans are not total pieces of shit that she has to hate with every fiber of her being. Then we've got like Grandpa Bert comes out. He sits at the table with Portia and Dominic and Albie, and they immediately get into like whether or not he's okay upstairs, sort of. What do you think is going on here? So he fell last week. He had a concussion, or maybe a concussion. Albie was supposed to sleep in his room. He didn't because he kept farting. That was all weird. I thought he might be dead by episode 2. Like he might wake up. They might wake up the next day and Grandpa's dead because Albie left him in there tooting by himself.
Right.
That's not the case.
Death by 1,000 toots.
Yeah, because of the Prosecco.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. Like, what is with do you think this old man leaves this trip alive?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not in on Bert dying?
No,
necessarily.
not at all.
I'm not saying he would be one of the bodies that we discover.
Right.
But I don't know if this old man's making it out of Italy.
I don't think that this is not a Game of Thrones show, right? Like, you don't cast F. Murray Abraham, put him he's first build,
and then
when the cast
him.
pops up. Although, to be fair, I'm pretty sure that they're doing it alphabetically. And then just like have him die on the show. It's only 8 episodes. Like, and like you're saying, like, what's this guy's deal? What are we doing? Where are we going with the Bert storyline? Like, how does he factor in? How does he play in? Like, we haven't gotten a lot there. As far as Bert himself, not Bert in relation to his son and grandson, right?
7 episodes. I have to correct you.
7. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, no, that's fair,
right? So, like, there just seems to be like more to do with Bert, and I think he's just gonna, I think he's along for the ride here.
I love him as a character so far, and Murray F. Abraham, you said,
F. Murray
right?
Abraham.
F.
Yeah.
Murray Abraham. He's awesome. Thoroughly enjoyed him in the few things I've seen him in, including wasn't he Saul's?
He's Saul. Yeah, like superior slash,
enemy,
peer,
rival,
frenemy,
sort of.
Yes.
Frenemies. They were definitely frenemies.
In
Homeland.
Yeah.
Which I think is the first thing I ever saw him in. And he's questioning Dominic, his son, about why his wife, Abby, is not there. Who, by the way, did end up being Laura Dern.
Yep.
As the voice actress on the phone, which is hysterical.
Yes.
I still can't believe you even came up with that concept.
And now I feel bad because I was like, she was kind of doing a Laura Dern impression.
Yes, you roasted her.
I kind of roasted the call a little bit, and
that made it all the funnier.
But I still stand by that as well. And
it was very over the top.
It's one of those things where like I feel like we're going to get it's like a circle, right? And we started on the opposite end of, or like the wrong end of the circle. We're going to come and we're going to circle back to it.
Sure.
And like once we see the story, once we get Laura Dern on screen, it's going to make sense. That phone call is going to make more sense, right? It's going to tie
And
back
they're hyping that moment up already. Michael Imperioli offline, I don't want to say offline, online, but off show, has put up like multiple posts being like, Laura Dern is phenomenal to work with. What an incredible, powerful presence. My God, she crushed that phone call, buried as an idiot. Like, he's been giving her so much praise. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that plays out. So you think we will get her on screen? Like, we will get Laura Dern? Okay. You don't think they'd just use her voice and that'd be it?
I mean,
as like a cool cameo type deal?
That would be quite a cameo. I think we're getting Laura Dern. Because especially, we're getting into we're talking about this conversation that Burton and Dominic have, right?
Yes.
Where he's like, why wouldn't she be here? Why wouldn't she come?
What did you do?
I could have done literally anything, and my wife would have come on this trip, right?
I could have burned the house down. Which sounds like it might be a bit of an exaggeration. But we do find out he lost his wife earlier that year, Bert. And they were married for 53 years. She was very sick, apparently. But we end up getting into their relationship a little bit more later in the episode as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Felix Gray Glasses, by the way, the best blue light glasses in the game for watching The White Lotus in comfort and style. 5 years ago, Felix Gray set out to create eyewear that would improve daily screen time, and since then, they have been on a mission to create a better relationship with technology, filtering 15 times more of the blue light that can make screen time tough on eyes and disruptive to sleep. I've been working on the internet for a very long time, over 10 years now. Spend like 10 hours a day staring at computer screens and cell phone screens, and when I'm done with work, I like to relax by watching my favorite shows and movies, which involve larger, even more intense screens. So a few years ago, when I was introduced to Felix Gray, everything changed. These glasses are the quality of designer frames, not some cheap blue light coating that's going to chip off. There's no cheaping, no chipness, no chipping, no cheapness, I should say.
AKA no chipness.
Exactly. They're amazing, though. I've got like 6 pairs. The frames I would recommend you check out, the Faraday, the Nash, and the West are 3 of my personal favorites. Go to our personal URL, felixgrayglasses.com/OCC, to support the podcast and get free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges. They've got non-prescription and prescription available nighttime glasses that help you wind down for sleep. Check them out now, felixgrayglasses.com/OCC. That's FELIXGRAY glasses.com/OCC. felixgrayglasses.com/OCC for free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges. So, do you have clarity now around Ethan and Cameron's business relationship? Because you and I were kind of going around this, trying to figure out exactly what happened.
I don't want to throw you under the bus here, but I was clear from the get-go. It just didn't seem that important for me to correct you on it.
Okay, got it. Like, because I definitely caused confusion with the things I was saying last week.
Yeah, they're... Ethan and Harper are worried that now that they are rich, their already other rich friends are going to like be using them for money, or they want to pitch them on some new investment deal, or like do something like that.
I thought they were in business together, but it's Cameron and Ethan were college roommates, became friends.
Yep.
It sounds like Cameron was already a successful businessman, and recently Ethan came into a windfall, as it is referred to,
or something.
And now he's loaded, and the concern from the Harpers or the Spillers is that these people are going to need money from them for some reason or another, and that's why they're on the trip.
Right.
Okay, just wanted to clarify there. So it's not that they're business partners.
Right.
That was my impression after the first episode, and I was incorrect. I do think Cameron will inevitably ask Ethan for money.
Yeah, they're this is something we can kind of dive into now.
Yeah.
But this episode like spends a lot of time, I think, just kind of continuing to push us along the track that you and I were on top of through episode 1, which is like, yeah, maybe these people are a little bit ignorant and not totally in tune with like all the social problems of the day and age.
Sure.
And who knows if they're actually even going out and voting or not, like yada, yada,
I can't
yada.
even remember if they voted.
Right. But they...
Yo vote, for the record.
Right. Yes, here in Texas.
Yeah.
But they seem to really love each other, and they have a good relationship, and they're having fun on vacation, and they care for one another, and they are... they're on the
kind of loosey-goosey.
They're on the same wavelength, and that's like worth something too, right? So I do think that at some point we may get the rug pulled out from under us on them. because
Feels like it, right?
Yeah, because they pushed us even further in that direction, where you're kind of like, well, maybe they're a little scummy, but they're nice. They love each other.
It's almost too good to be true, this episode, though, where there's not a single moment that makes you feel like these people are probably really, really shitty underneath it all. It's all the opposite. It's pushing you in the direction of you judged them too quickly. Not everything is as it seems. Not all of us need to be plugged into the internet and social justice worrying every day, right? So it does, so far, there's a pretty cool, I like what they've done here, because I'm not firmly a fan of either couple's particular strategy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a great idea to be totally unplugged from it all and just caring about only your life and living, with privilege and not knowing what that means, really.
Yeah.
And I also don't think it's great to be the couple that's completely inundated by misery all the time because you can't stop talking about the news, the voting, the politics, the social issues.
Yeah, everything that's wrong in the world. Oh, in this world?
Exactly.
Yeah,
so we have this mix now between these two, and it kind of makes you see it from both sides, right? And all of us have a little bit of both couples, right? We all couples have a little of both couples in them.
Sure.
So it's just sort of a fun self-analysis thing as you watch the show too.
Yeah, totally.
So at brunch, the Sullivans, Cameron is dropping these cheese dick lines like happy wife, happy life when Harper is there eating with just them two. And
they say they never fight.
Never fight.
Never fight.
And Harper is so shook by this that she literally has to leave and bails to her room and walks in on Ethan cranking.
Yeah.
Which takes us to vacation cranking. If you're cranking on vacation with your significant other, it's always kind of a low point. And I've definitely been there in the distant past. Found myself on a nice tropical vacation, somehow cranking. And look, no shame in the self-pleasure game, but there are times and places where this is not a good sign that I'm having to...
Yes.
That I'm going at this sexual thing by myself here on vacay is not...
I would put
it feels like a red flag.
Vacation is the number one on that list, right? Like if there is any place in time that there will be room for a little bit of,
loving,
yeah. Little loving. It's vacation.
Vacation time, man. That's when you think you're going to get laid, for sure. So him cranking... First of all, I thought it was interesting that they even gave us a shot of like the Pornhub screen.
Oh yeah, real porn. Yeah.
What was that about? Because I would say generally, especially for like the super woke crowd, which I thought Ethan was supposed to be sort of in, Pornhub is bad. They're like the enemy, right?
Is that right?
I'm pretty sure. There was a lot of exploitation and like questionable, moral, very, very shitty things that Pornhub got into.
About Pornhub or just about porn in general?
Pornhub in particular.
Okay.
Being one of like the leading bad areas in pornography. Like if you were trying to choose like clean, morally sound porn, you wouldn't be going to Pornhub. So I just thought it was interesting that they gave us on HBO like a shot of the fucking homepage of him like browsing for porn. It was weird.
And they probably had to get that cleared by Pornhub.
That's what some type of legal had to be approved, probably. Yeah. But it was weird. The act of cranking is visually hilarious, by the way. It just is. I don't know why it's so funny, but like even just watching this dude sit there with the computer in front of him, like doing the, you know what I mean? Which can I even do that on YouTube? I don't know. I'll stop.
Yeah, stop that.
I showed my nipples last week, and we got away with that. So, yeah. Your thoughts, Barrett?
My thoughts are: if you do find yourself in these dire straits, it's a bad idea to, 1, get your computer out for this, and 2, do it on the bed. Like
in a clear line of sight to the door? What the fuck is wrong? Has this guy never cranked in his whole life?
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is so just rookie mistakes here, but just like, take yourself to the bathroom, my guy.
Gets in the shower right after. That would have been a perfectly reasonable place to do it.
Slightly more reasonable, yeah.
I don't know how I feel
a little bit
about
more clandestine.
Just in their middle of their bed, on top of the bed, and sweaty. Just went for a run. Hasn't showered yet. Just disrespectful.
It was. One thing I will also say about Ethan. I thought he was a bit of an awkward runner. And I was like, this guy, he's not doing any sports out there. And then he pops top in the hotel room, and I'm like, oh, sneaky jacked.
Yeah, what the fuck? Both these dudes are ridiculously in good shape, like crazy good shape.
So yeah, he had a rockin' bod there.
He's got like soccer guy body.
Yeah, and then I was just like, okay, so maybe he's just he's just got an interesting gait. Yeah.
I didn't like his running attire.
You didn't like what?
I didn't like his running attire because he had a blue shirt and a blue hat. And I was like, this is...
How did you feel about the way he wore his hat? It always bothers me when people do ball caps, but they don't push their hair up.
So they've got the...
So the hair comes out like onto their forehead with the ball cap. I know people do this. I know
It's
people
another
do
rookie
this.
mistake, though. It's like a sixth grade mistake.
Shots fired
Yeah.
here on coming from my ship, but to your ship. But that's not how you wear a hat.
No, it's
Not
not.
if you're trying to keep sweat out of your face.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
don't... That part of it
So-
alone doesn't make sense. And I don't like the way it looks. Yeah, so the Harpers get into their different schedules here after she walks in on him cranking, and he cops to it pretty quickly.
He
He's like,
does. Also,
I was jacking off.
That was also an interesting wrinkle here.
Yeah, just owning it.
Normally, you just like throw the computer in the corner
Out the window, yeah.
out the window, be like, "I wasn't doing anything." What? That was suspicious. It looked like you were doing something. Nope.
What's with the raging heart on? I was thinking about you. That's it. Like, you never admit. It's a deny situation if you get walked in on cranking.
And then again, we're kind of like, even Harper had later says that she's the shrew, right? But like, she's pretty chill about it. Offers to get in on the job.
Yeah?
And then you turn her down.
Don't get it at all.
That
My wife asked me, she goes, have I ever walked in on you cranking? And I was like, you think I would tell you if you had? It's part of the game, baby.
Mine said, do you watch porn? And I said, because I had to be very honest about it. I said, no.
Never have, never will.
Never have, never will.
Never have, never will.
Yeah.
But then they get into how the other couple never fights, right? Daphne and Cameron never fight, and Harper is shook by that, explaining it to Ethan like these people are so full of shit. They're all over each other. They act like they're honeymooning, but it's fake. It's fake. I'm telling you it's fake, and I know it's fake because they never, ever fight. And to her point, it is the thing that makes me suspicious that later the rug will be pulled out from under us when it comes to the Sullivans, because everybody fights.
Right.
If you spend enough to her, she's like, well, we fight because we talk about everything. So of course we're going to fight. And I tend to agree with that. Like, especially after the pandemic and seeing what that did to all of us, like when you're stuck with somebody for hours and hours and hours and hours on end of every day, you are going to have conflict. It is inevitable. Human beings don't get along like that. It's not really realistic to expect that you would never fight, right? Yeah. So I'm with her on the suspicion, but to Ethan's point, why pick at it? Like, why be such a hater? Right?
Yeah, right. And it's very, it's just kind of, it reads as sour grapes.
And like she's being threatened by them somehow, right? As Ethan says.
She needs them to be a facade.
Which I think we can all relate to that on some level too. Everybody's gone to a dinner with or been on a trip with or spent time with a couple that makes them question the nature of their relationship, right? And their whether or not their coupling is good by comparison. So just a lot of fun stuff happening there between the Spillers and the what's the other name? Sullivans?
Sullivan's? Spillers and Sullivans?
Yeah, sure. Tanya with Greg expresses that she wants to be like Monica Vitti and have her Italian fantasy day in Italy, and she wants a man in a well-fitting suit to pick her up on a Vespa, and Greg's like, I can do that. I can put on a suit, be that guy, and get a Vespa and stuff. But yeah, what the fuck is going on with Greg?
Don't know.
So it's a huge question, obviously, after this episode.
Yeah, she gives him this this kind of fantasy that she's after. He gives it to her.
Yeah.
We get a lot of very comical moments on the Vespa.
Oh
with
my
her,
God, the anxiety I had.
Gripping too tight. And yeah, you really did think that this Vespa was just going to fly off one of those cliffs.
I thought they were goners.
Jennifer Coolidge just like doing her extra bit, which is just very funny. I know, I'm sure it grates on some people, but it always makes me laugh. And yeah, they get to like the blow up scene at dinner where like it all kind of just starts to crumble.
Right.
And then later that night we see Greg back on the phone, secretizing. And my read here is that he's got a second family.
All the way?
Yeah. Like I think he's got like a full on,
affair, secret situation.
Yeah, like with kids and probably the whole thing.
See, because I think they're obviously trying to get us to figure out what it is that Greg has got going on. And so I feel pretty baited because
so do I. So that's why I'm just like that's my knee-jerk reaction. That's what I feel like is going on, but very, very likely that we're being played here in some way.
Yeah, I feel like it all said and done, into the episode, Tanya walks out onto the balcony or not out onto the balcony, but goes and sees Greg on the balcony talking on the phone. And I think I'll just pull up what he says. She's clueless as usual. I'll be home tomorrow. Give you a call when I get in. All right, I love you too and look forward to it. So, on the nose, yeah, seems like he's having an affair. But if you think about it for a second, it's like, well, what if he's planning like a surprise party for her?
Yeah, Yeah, that's what I think you said that last week.
Or something to do, some type of surprise that I feel like in the end, he's going to get murdered and it's going to be for the wrong reason. Like she's going to have thought he was cheating and whack his ass somehow, maybe smother him with a pillow. And then it's going to turn out, oh my God, he was actually a nice guy the whole time. This whole Denver work trip thing was just a facade to pull off some crazy scheme because he loves her so much, maybe. But then he hasn't acted like he loves her, right?
Right. And the thing is, what precedes the balcony phone call is this really upsetting scene at dinner where he's like, "You don't even," or wait, who doesn't like who? She's
saying
him,
you don't like me at all.
She's accusing him of not liking her at all.
Yes.
Right?
And he's like, well, you could leave me at any minute. You abandon people. You discard them as if they're nothing.
You made me sign a prenup. So I got to keep working. Like
I got to think about me and worry about me, right?
But the whole, that kind of blows up. He's clearly planned out this long day that she wanted so that he can drop the Denver bombshell on her, that he has to leave the vacation in the middle of it and go back there. And so, yeah, I don't know. That all seemed like a lot of very, tense activity between the two of them for him to be doing something like really nice and thoughtful and surprising, like a party.
A hell of an acting job if he's actually just doing some surprise party in the background and there's nothing nefarious going on at all.
Yeah, but you're right. It definitely could be something like that as well.
I can just tell they're screwing with us, and I don't like it.
Yeah. I get that feeling as well.
The part where they are discussing initially, Tanya's laying out her Italian fantasy. My favorite piece of clothing in this episode is Greg's yellow shirt that he's wearing. I'm looking at this shirt going, I got to get this fucking shirt somehow. It's an amazing vacation shirt. And then the DeGrassos talk Portia.
That is a good shirt. I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
Very good shirt.
The DeGrassos talk Portia into going to the Greek theater with them. Today's episode is also brought to you by Chime. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? Is it checking your credit score? I didn't think so. At Chime, that's exactly what they do. With their secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card, you can start to build credit with your own money. Chime reports your payments to credit bureaus to help you build credit over time. Their members see an increase of 30 points on average. All of this with no annual fees, large security deposits, or credit checks to apply. So start your credit journey with Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/dragon. That's CHIME.com/dragon. The Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card is issued by Stride Bank N.A. pursuant to a license from Visa USA Chime checking account and $200 qualifying direct deposit required to apply for the secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card. Regular on-time payment history can have a positive impact on your credit score. Impact to score may vary, and some users' scores may not improve. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees apply, except at MoneyPass ATMs in a 7-Eleven or any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. So for the next part of the episode, the Sullivans have a blast shopping together. Another one of the places we see them having what seems like genuine fun because Cameron's bag got sent back to America.
Yeah.
They screwed him with his luggage. So this is where we start to play catch up with our prostitute, Lucia, and her friend Mia, as they are in the shopping district of wherever the fuck as well.
Yeah, they're also going ham on the old credit card there.
Yeah. Lucia, whatever, says she's going to be Dominic's girlfriend all week, that he was tense, but he really liked her. Their little first night of business dealings went well, apparently. And Dominic sets the two girls up with all access guest status, basically, for the hotel.
Yeah, he splashes out, baby.
Do you feel like this would actually be something you could put, all right, so I'm watching this happen, and I've spent a lot of time in hotels, and I know, sleaziness is obviously a thing that occurs.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I've ever been to because this is supposed to be a 5-star resort.
Yeah.
These are supposed to be very rich people at this place. I'm not sure he would be able to pull off telling the resort manager point blank, nah, okay, you see these 2 girls that I obviously don't know and I'm doing a terrible job of convincing you are my friends and you know are prostitutes. I'm going to want them to have full access to this place at all times. One of them can be on my room, put the other one on my grandpa or whatever, and hook them up with some room keys. We're just going to let them do whatever the fuck. And the lady's like, all right, sounds good. We'll go ahead and get them hooked up. I just thought that was crazy. There's no way this would ever happen. But maybe it's a little, maybe things are different across the pond.
I was just about to say, one thing you got to remember is this is Italy, not the U.S.
Maybe they're different with the sex workers.
Slightly, less prude, I would have to imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that he doesn't have a last name for them it was the thing that stuck out to me.
He's like, this is my friend, she's like, Lucia. It's like, and Mia. He does not know their names.
He should have just made that, he should have been like, and their last name is Jones.
Try a little hard. He did not try. Yeah.
So maybe, you could probably do this. I just think you need to fake it a little bit better
than he did. Yeah.
As far as the information that you have about your friends that are staying with you as guests, but not actually staying with you. They're not sleeping here.
She's going to sleep with your father? No! Damn it! Valentina was great in this scene, though. Yeah. It was another great comic relief scene for her.
But yeah, you know what? He gets the job done, and these girls have unfettered access, and they're having themselves a day.
He tells them, hey, look, don't go crazy, right? Get some drinks, sure.
Yeah.
Some food, maybe. Don't go crazy. And then they it seems like they pretty immediately went crazy.
They drop racks at the clothing shop.
There's a lot of purchases being made here.
But I think they're doing the proper calculus in their head, which is that, don't worry, we just have to do a threesome now to pay for this.
Yeah. No, it's not a bad strategy, frankly. So yeah, after they get set up with the hotel guest status, they just start shopping and getting shit-faced on his tab for the remainder of the episode.
Hell yeah.
It looked awesome, honestly.
It did.
Valentina, our resort manager, gets very upset when she finds out that the hotel staff, and I'm assuming Rocco, actually did hook up Tanya and Greg with a Vespa.
Yes.
She's like, my God, you actually gave it to them? What the fuck is wrong with you? They're going to die. And then she calls Tanya Peppa Pig, which is one of the funniest lines in the show so far, and also just the most offensive shit you could possibly say to a guest. And she had no reaction. Tanya just went right over her head. Cameron, out at the beach, asks Ethan and Harper what it's like being rich now. And they delve into this whole windfall situation. They start talking basically about what money means to them individually, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ethan and Harper are like, well, not much has really changed for us. We get to donate more money to our causes, basically, and then we help out our family members who aren't as financially set as us.
Yeah, again,
just a bit.
Pretty obnoxious response from them.
Yeah, a little holier than thou.
You don't have to climb on your high horse like that. Especially when what follows is another shot when she's like, we're just not that materialistic.
Yeah. It's not knowing what that sounds like coming out of your mouth.
You are materialistic swine.
Yes. Which Cameron picks up on immediately and is like, look, we are not the shitbags that you are imagining in your head. And she's like, no, I didn't say you were shitbags. Yes, you kind of did. Yeah. Repeatedly. You keep underhand insulting these people and implying that you think they suck as humans. So, but yeah, this is where the major windfall comes up, and in my mind, I finally got separation between these two not being in business together and making sense of that all. So after this awkward exchange on the beach, Cameron actually approaches Harper in the water, goes out there and does the classic leg grab underneath the surface thing, and but he tells her it's important to me that you like us and that you like me. Right? What was your read here?
Well, okay.
This is after the Flash and the Hog in episode 1.
Exactly. And this is again, we are being pushed to like Cameron and Daphne a little bit more than maybe we should, or maybe than we did within the first 5 minutes of meeting them and kind of hearing what they were all about and seeing kind of what their attitude was,
and judging from the surface,
and judging on a more surface level. But I think it's probably important that we have like two like boundary crosses. now.
Yeah.
He doesn't know Harper that well. They're not besties. They're not like old friends that have been on a bunch of vacations together.
Right.
Where you could pull some shit like the little grabbing your leg thing. It's also already like a little weird. Like you're both married. Like
in your 30s and shit. Like, or
I
maybe
don't know,
even, yeah.
Like I'm not going underwater and like grabbing any of my friend's wife's legs.
Yeah, that's that's a real boundary. Like, no, for real. That's like, I mean, it's one of those things that when you're in high school or college, the boundaries around that type of shit are way less. They're way more fluid. It's less less important that you know those boundaries. Yeah. Then, as an adult, like there's just certain shit you don't do. It's like it's the question at the beginning of Pulp Fiction, whether or not it's okay to give another man's wife a foot massage. And when I was a kid, I used to watch that and I'd be like, who gives a shit? But now, like if I found out somebody gave my wife a foot massage, yeah, we're going to throw hands.
It's
that's
on site.
fucking, that's weird, son. Get your hands off my wife's feet, bruh.
Yeah, and so like the little shark gag here, it's like if a friend did that to my wife or to my partner, I wouldn't like make a scene out of that.
But you would be kind of
I'd be like, that's a little weird.
Maybe that dude just had a moment, or this motherfucker might have some type of boundary issues, right? Altogether.
So yes. So the hanging dong in the hotel room,
and even more so the dong hanging.
And then
to me,
and then this like this kind of like boundary cross here, at 100%. Like it's like they're little throwaways, but I feel like they're going to be important because he crosses the line on both of these occasions.
And it does seem that there's some kind of, as Harper points out later in the episode to Ethan, she says like, that's why you wanted to come. You wanted to be able to come here to show him that you're either in his league now or potentially even a little bit above it with money, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the big dick game. And he's like, no, that had nothing to do with it. But if there is some level of rivalry there, which seems like it's the case,
sure,
then this dude kind of crossing boundaries with that dude's wife feels like it could be problematic long term.
Yeah.
At the Greek theater with the Grassos, we have Bert accidentally calling Portia Cara, which is his granddaughter's name. So more mental confusion from him.
Okay.
And then he goes on a weird rant about Hades raping Persephone? Whatever. Persephone, thank you. Right there in Sicily. And then he says to Dominic, whatever you've done can't be as bad as that, as Hades and the raping. And it was just like the way he's even using the R word, where it's like, it kind of just like hits you over and over, where you're like, please stop saying it. Please stop saying it. Why are you telling this story? What the hell is happening right now?
Totally.
Everyone around him handles it pretty well, considering like Portia doesn't like, you know, she's not like fully disgusted. They're all just kind of like, okay, let's walk away. The old man is rambling about rape. What the fuck? This is just, we're having a lot of, obviously, Grandpa Bert has been very funny, right? And old people generally are. But there's like very questionable shit being introduced into his sort of like moral being, I guess, because him cheating comes up in this episode too. And just him trying to, without having any information, right? He keeps asking, what did you do? What did you do? Dominic is not telling him. And it could have been anything. He just keeps assuming that there's no way his son has done anything that could possibly warrant Abby not coming on this trip or speaking to them.
Yeah. If I had to kind of burrow down here and just start doing some wild speculation, we talked a little bit about this, just a minute ago, but like one of Bert's kind of main things so far in the first two episodes has been this kind of like peppering Dom about what happened. Why is your wife not here? What'd you do? You got to keep these affairs discreet. A man's got to do what he's got to do, but you got to, you don't rub it in her face.
Right.
Like all these little things about like how he's just kind of like chirping,
he's
constantly
horny.
Chirping in his ear about basically how could you have let an affair ruin your entire marriage?
It's not that big of a deal.
That's not that big of a deal.
Right.
It's actually making me think now that what Dominic did was maybe not an affair. It might not have been an affair that was like this straw that broke the camel's back. Like maybe that type of stuff was going on,
but something worse happened potentially, or different.
Yeah, right. And the way that he's talking about like the story with Hades coming up and raping Persephone and then dragging her back down to hell.
Right.
It's like, and you get this look on Dominic's face that almost reads as like, I did do something that bad, or I did do something that was worse than that, but probably wasn't a rape. You know what I mean?
It was a very on-the-nose example, because he says even like, and then there's this other Greek character that forgave, or I think it was maybe Hades' wife, or I'm not sure. I don't know that much about Greek mythology. But he brings up another Greek character that forgave Hades even though he raped her daughter or something. And it obviously plays in here somehow, right? And we've also got that weird shit from the first episode with the head sculptures around this place. And there's some evil underneath it all shit happening, obviously. But the thing that makes me wonder about Dominic, to your point, is like the obvious direction they've pushed us is, well, this guy has a problem with prostitutes.
Yeah, he's a sex addict.
He's a sex addict.
Cheating.
He can't keep it in his pants. But this conversation really makes you start to wonder, like, well, maybe he did something like significantly different than what I'm thinking, and that's why she's as angry as she is. Because maybe, to the grandpa's point, just cheating wouldn't have made her that mad, because maybe everybody already knew that was the type of dude he was. So we're going to have to wait and see. But certainly, I don't feel great about the Grasso family and how their vacation is going.
Yeah, they're really
so far.
They're falling apart at the seams a little bit.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Calm.com. Back in 2020, I got into meditation for the first time. It's definitely something I kind of judged as weird before I tried it, but holy shit, has it changed my ability to stay centered and calm throughout the course of my stressful life. Is meditating more regularly one of your intentions for this next year? Whether you're crushing your goals or you need a little boost, Calm can help. With Calm, you can start or continue your meditation practice and find peace of mind today. We are partnering with Calm, the #1 mental wellness app, to give you the tools that improve the way you feel, reduce stress and anxiety through guided meditations, improve focus with curated music tracks, and rest and recharge with Calm's imaginative sleep stories for children and adults, by the way. There's even new daily movement sessions designed to relax your body and uplift your mind. If you go to calm.com/dragon, you will get a special offer. 40% off a Calm premium subscription. New content added every week. Over 100 million people around the world use Calm to take care of their minds. Calm is ready to help you stress less, sleep more, and live happier and healthier. For listeners of our show, Calm is offering an exclusive offer. 40% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/dragon. That's CALM.com/dragon. For 40% off unlimited access to Calm's entire library. Calm.com/dragon. So Lucia and Mia living it up at the resort. Their evening is approaching, and Mia sees the piano player that she threw a drink at in the premiere episode of season 2. And then she goes and plays the piano and absolutely slays. She crushes her performance here. I thought she was going to bomb, but she didn't. And at this point, I didn't really know what to make of this scene. I'll be honest with you. I didn't really know what it was saying. I don't know what we're doing with the piano player. I mean, people get drunk and do funny shit on vacay, I guess, but what the fuck? I don't know what to make of the piano guy, though. There was people throwing all kinds of crazy theories about the piano guy at me last week. They're like, the piano guy is going to be worried that he tried to make an offer to this non-prostitute, so he's going to murder everybody to try to cover his tracks. I was just like, I don't think that's what happens, but no idea.
It's so funny. I played golf with some friends this weekend, and they were talking White Lotus too, and like they were like you're saying, like they were very interested in like, oh, who's killing who?
Yeah.
Who's the murderer?
Yeah.
Who did it? Who's dead?
Who's gonna die, Barrett?
It's just
you just don't care, huh?
No, it's just very strange. It's just not the way I'm watching the show.
It's not the way I'm watching it scene to scene, but in digesting it after the fact, I do look at every piece of what happened in each episode and then ask myself, who do I think is going to die?
And like I keep kind of saying to myself, well, season 1, it's like the death wasn't really like that big or involve main characters, and then I was like, no, yeah, it did involve 2 main characters,
and it was the climax
and it
of
was
the season,
the climax. So, but it does kind of like it happens, and then everything kind of like goes back to the way it was, right? So it's this weird thing where I think just different people are watching the show with like kind of like different focuses in their mind.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Which is part of why I think the show is just supremely well crafted.
Very layered.
Yeah, there are a lot of different layers. There are a lot of different levels you can watch it on, or things that you can kind of like make your primary focus.
Yeah.
So I don't have a piano guy theory. I didn't go that deep with it.
But what about the scene in general, though? just kind of a.
I mean, we know from episode 1 that Mia is kind of like, and even Lucia to a degree is like, she's a sex worker, but like she's talked about how she's done this a few times before, but she's not like, she's almost more of like a sugar baby, right? Which is in the same.
I think that's kind of what they're trying to say too
category.
About sex workers in 2022. Maybe not what you think, right?
Yeah, but she doesn't. She's not like running around with like a pimp, and she's not like this kind of like classic archetype of like a
dirty prostitute,
lady of the night that you think of, right?
Yeah.
She's just a young Italian girl that is
trying to make some money,
and have some fun,
sure.
and being supported for a week by this wealthy dude. And Mia has not had this type of experience, and has more kind of like pie in the sky dreams of being a songstress or a pop star or a musician. And it's like, is she going to get dragged down into doing something that she doesn't want to do, or is she going to like use the opportunity to build out that path a little bit more? Like, I don't know. Like I'm just kind of spitballing here because I'm with you. I don't really have a take on what's going on with Mia being a singer
here.
Yeah.
No, it's one of the scenes from this episode that when I was rewatching and sort of thinking through what exactly each scene seems to have a very specific purpose, and then there's this one with the piano where I was like, what the fire? Why are they giving us this? So I'm curious if anybody in the Clam Fam has takes about what that scene may have meant. Holler at us at Barrett Dudley at WR Bolen on Twitter.
Maybe a good hotline phone call.
Oh yeah, for Patreon. Holler at us on Patreon as well. Let's see. So Albie and Portia go to dinner together, and of course Tanya and Greg are at that same restaurant. And separately, we have the Sullivans and the Spillers having dinner. And at that dinner, the Sullivans bring up having kids, whether or not the Spillers want to, which, as anybody in Barrett and I's age range will tell you, is definitely one of these awkward conversations that comes up time and again.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in social settings where people do sort of inappropriately pry in this realm, where it is a very personal thing. And in the more I've lived, the more I've found out, like, look, there are a lot of different angles that come into making kids, whether or not you want to, if you even can, all of that different stuff that comes into play that makes it really kind of inappropriate to ask anybody unless you're so fucking close with them that they are like family already, sort of. And even then, it could go wrong when you ask. So it's interesting that it comes up at all. The Spillers obviously don't handle that conversation entirely well. Like, Ethan's like, we're trying, and Harper's like, yeah, but not really very hard. And then it ends up where Cameron's like, so you guys just aren't fucking, huh?
Yeah,
like, you're not having sex,
it becomes
are
about
you?
their sex life, right? Yeah.
That whole thing sort of shifts, but then Cameron and Daphne share the story of Daphne almost dying during childbirth, and like him having to see her guts on the table, and basically it brought them closer together than ever. And you never really know, it's one of those moments where you find out exactly how much you love someone, and Cameron's very seemingly sincere and earnest about his love for his wife, which again causes Harper to question what the fuck she's been judging this couple for, when maybe it's her and her relationship that she should be judging, right? All good fun stuff. But yeah, they get into their sex lives, whether or not they're mourning people, how they're not like mixed, which I thought were all incredibly relatable things for couples, especially in long-term relationships. Like, it is one of those things that you find yourself worrying about, right? The older you get, like, are we having sex enough? Are other people having sex more than us? Like, what the fuck is that? Like, and you don't really have there's no real way to measure that, like, because nobody talks about it, right? Yeah. So it is a really weird situation where you kind of end up setting your own standards, which I think a lot of the time can go pretty poorly, in my experience. So, yeah, that whole scene with them, I mean, it just added a lot more depth to every single one of the four characters at the table, except for Ethan, really. I can't get a feel for this guy.
Yeah, he's the most quiet, right? Like, and
he's pretty reserved.
He's very reserved, and he's not giving us a read. He's not really able to answer. Like, he just kind of has like this vague grin on his face when Harper presses him, like, "Oh, is that what we're here for? Are you kind of like trying to one up this dude a little bit, or kind of show him that you're an alpha now?" Like, this whole thing.
Yeah,
he doesn't really have an answer for it, and yeah, he's just a little. He just doesn't have a strong presence or take or voice on anything yet.
Right.
And
so he is tough to read for that reason.
He is tough to read. You know, I think it's like earlier in the episode when he and Harper are having their first conversation, I think post crank and then post shower. And he said, and he kind of has to like do the convincing that he thinks that their relationship is good, 100%. He agrees with that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like one of those moments. It's a little, you know, methinks the lady doth protest too much. And I think that they are, you know, I think they're both kind of circling in on this possible idea that like maybe our relationship isn't where it needs to be, or wasn't the right choice, or isn't as
maybe
good,
it needs to be worked on at
as
least.
good as we think it is, or does need work, or could be, or we could learn something from the Sullivans, right?
Sure.
So there's just a lot at play with, I think, kind of like what they're seeing, you know, in the mirror right now by spending so much time with a couple that is like far more in touch emotionally and physically.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're seeing the two different ways you can sort of handle that. In the case of his wife, Harper, she is actively, it seems, analyzing that situation. Like, oh, this is not quite maybe what I thought it was. Maybe we do have some issues, like we've been saying. Whereas he's sort of choosing to like shut it out almost a little. Just gonna go for a run, jack off. It's not a big deal. Let's just get through this fucking vacation. Like the reason he is there, which comes up at the end of the episode, is sort of yet to be determined. But for everyone else, it feels like they know why they're there. I don't know. It's just there's a lot going on, and Ethan is the one character of those four that I have no read on and don't really know what he's thinking or what he wants or if he's even trying right at all. So just something to keep an eye on. But yeah, so to jump over to the DeGrassos, Dominic tells Bert, look, you weren't as discreet with your affairs when I was a kid as you thought you were, right? I think he calls them picadillos. He says they weren't affairs; those were picadillos, which sort of shows he's minimizing it, right? He didn't do anything wrong; those weren't even a big deal. But we're starting to get a read on why Dominic might be the way Dominic is, because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and oftentimes it's our parents who impress upon us some of our biggest flaws, as it were. So, just a weird conversation there between the two of them where Bert's repeatedly pushing Dominic to patch things up with his wife, and Dominic just wants to party with some prosts, though, man. He's not here for all this. So Tanya and Greg have their meltdown moment at the restaurant, right? Everything we covered with them already. That she made him sign a prenup. Excuse me. They have the whole scene at the end where she walks out and hears him say she's clueless as usual. I'll be home tomorrow. I'll give you a call when I get in. Blah blah blah. And then we see Dominic. Oh, so first of all, the rejection part from Ethan and Harper, where she's like, "Do you want to like jack off on my face or suck my tits?" And he's "Nah, I just want to crash."
Turns it down again.
And I'm like, "Come on, man."
Again, and I think I think a purposeful flip there, where he's kind of the one that
is the shrew.
Is the shrew? Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, and Albie kisses Portia,
and I think that's even, and again, I think when we do occasionally flip over to the Sullivans, there's a couple scenes, one in the first episode and one in this one, where they're like, man, like she kind of sucks, doesn't she?
Yes,
right.
They really question it at the end of this one, though. He's like, why did he marry her?
Why did he marry her? Yeah. Like blah blah blah. And I kind of feel like that's that is often, I think, the reaction in like these in a cis hetero circle or world, where you generally like there's just like a knee jerk that's not really warranted, where you're like, well, it must be the woman that is the buzzkill, right?
Where maybe it's this guy,
not him.
Right?
And I think I think maybe I think maybe they have it flipped a little bit, where she's not as loosey goosey as they are, but like maybe Ethan is not all that like.
She certainly seems more fun than him to me.
Right. Is really the bigger killjoy.
Look, only one of them offered to let the other finish on their face.
That's right.
In this episode,
right.
And it wasn't him.
Twice in one day.
And he's just saying, nah, he just wants to crank.
Yeah.
So yeah, Portia and Albie share their kiss in the hallway. Don't really know what's happening there yet, but it's our fun little young couple storyline. And Dominic, Maltasanti, what's his name? Michael Imperioli has his threesome at the end of the episode with Lucia and Mia.
Looks like it looks like it's getting going, right? Yeah,
it's starting up.
It's starting
They're
up. It's heating
partying.
up. They're getting in the hot tub.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know. And there's clothes coming off.
Clothes
in the
are
hot
coming
tub
off
too.
Yeah.
It seems like the threesome is going down, and of course Dominic, not very discreet. Bert can hear this through the wall, and is like, "What the hell? I
need to get myself over there.
I need to get
Daddy horny, Michael.
Exactly. So yeah, we covered everything, and I just want to ask you questions about Greg and what he's got going on, but I know you don't know, so there's no point. We're just gonna have to discuss it further on Patreon later this week.
Yeah, hopefully we have some good phone calls to just kind of spur that conversation along.
Y'all get your calls in quickly on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Barrett and I are recording tomorrow afternoon, Thursday afternoon, okay? So if you're in the Mollusk Militia and you've got takes on White Lotus, call in now. And under 2 minutes, be as quick as you can, be as succinct as you can, as clear as you can. Let us know what it is you're thinking, or hit us with a question or a theory or a hypothetical. And Barrett and I will further dive into episodes 1 and 2 of The White Lotus Season 2 on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. For all the supporters of our podcast, they're pledging a minimum of $5 monthly to keep the show alive. And we appreciate you so much to everybody who's already there. Join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We did not have a hotline call episode last week because I had a mental health emergency. We didn't get to record. We're going to do a column to answer some of the hotline call questions that came from episode 1, and I will also include 1 or 2 that maybe were super, super relevant if they make sense on tomorrow's episode. So appreciate y'all. Sorry about the delay last week. That is on me, and was nothing I could do about it. But we are excited for this week. Patreon, patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles for further White Lotus talk with Barrett and I all season long. Having a blast. Loving it. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for supporting and listening. At Barrett Dudley on Twitter and Instagram, at WR Bolen. Go to bolenmedia.com/shop to get yourself some OCC merch. Follow us on social media. We're on TikTok at Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. We're everywhere else as well. You can watch full episodes of our show, by the way, on youtube.com/@oysters, clams, and cockles, if you would like. Every episode of our show available on YouTube. Until next time, Clam Fam,